Hey, everybody. Thank you for being back with us again for another interview. We hope that you've enjoyed the messages and the devotions that we've been sending out this week. And of course, if you have any prayer requests or need anything at all, you can certainly reach out to us by Facebook, or if you have our cell phone numbers, we'll be glad to pray for you. If you have any needs, if there's some necessities or food that you are running low on or you think you're going to run out of, please let us know when we want to do our best to try to help you any way that we can. We have today with us Chance and Brooke Nichols. They've been a part of our New Life family for a few months now. Back in November of 2019, they found us, and we're so glad that they're here. They've been a big part of the church already involved. We'll get to more of that a little bit later, but first, Chance and Brooke, why don't y'all introduce yourself? Chance, you can go first. Tell a little bit about yourself and, just your name, age, all that stuff.
So my name's Chance Nichols. I'm 24 years old, and what else?
That's good. That's all right. How long have y'all been married?
5 years.
5 years, okay. And you have
It was this month.
5 years this March.
Yeah.
I'm Brooke. I am 30. Lord bless it. And we have 3 children. Easton is 4. Hadley is 3. Blanche is 20 months. We have been in the Lufkin area for 5.5 years. We have 4 dogs and a cat. Life is fun.
4 dogs and a cat and 3 kids.
3 kids, 4 dogs, and a cat.
My goodness. Yeah, wow.
Yes.
So, first off, what is y'all's religious background, just so people get to know you a little bit better? Chance, start with you. Growing up, what was your kind of religious upbringing?
I grew up Baptist. We went to church on Sunday mornings, rarely Sunday nights, and never on Wednesdays.
So Sunday mornings, some Sunday nights, and no
It definitely
Wednesdays.
was not whenever the doors were open.
Gotcha.
It was
Okay.
when we felt like it, I guess.
Yeah. What about you, Brooke?
I grew up Assembly of God. My parents, we were there every time the doors were open for any reason that we could be at church. We were there. My parents were the youth ministers growing up when my brothers were teenagers. And I had a lot of family. The church that I grew up in, my grandmother, my dad's mom, was actually, for better terms, like a kind of a deacon in the church. Like she was, I don't think she was one of the founders necessarily, but she helped, to bring it up off the ground, and she was a big part of the church. My dad's entire family went there, so we were big involved in our church as Assembly of God. And then when I was 15, I came into the truth and received the Holy Ghost at 16, baptized in Jesus' name, and have been. I went astray for a little while, but otherwise have been, in church since. So.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So y'all essentially completely different religious backgrounds.
Yes.
I mean, some church, some God, whole lot of church, whole lot of God, but somehow your paths crossed and found one another.
And the thing with Baptist is, I was told once saved, always saved. And then you start thinking about it, and that's not true at all.
Yeah. So y'all kind of, when y'all got married, which was 5 years ago. Now, you knew she was Pentecostal,
Yes.
right? What was your thoughts about that?
People I went to school with that were Pentecostal, and it was like, you knew it.
Well-
So it was like, is it going to be weird?
Gotcha.
Well, and when we first got together, I was backslidden.
Okay.
So he looked like through my Instagram and Facebook, and was like, it was like skirts, pants, like, what? Is she Pentecostal? Like, is she UPC? Is she, like, what is she? And he asked some people, like, mutual friends of ours, and they were like, yeah, she's Pentecostal, but I don't know that she goes to church anymore. Because, I wasn't in really close to God at that time when we first got together. So he was kind of like, oh, well, this may not be so bad. Little did he know.
Yeah, right. Okay, so y'all met, and then did you start going to church with her right away? What kind of changed from, you said you were not going to church at the time very often. So what kind of transpired from that point when you met, filling some of the blanks between then and now, as far as, see, how can I explain it? Just from not going to church very much, probably none at all, or hardly any at all, into the now y'all are where you are here at New Life.
We decided to start going to church, but she told me I'm not going to a Baptist church. And I told her, well, I mean, I'll try a Pentecostal church. And then the first day that we went, I walked in, and about 5 minutes in, they started speaking in tongues, and I told her I'm going to the car.
So Pentecostal church
It
started
was
acting Pentecostal. What we call
like
a runaway.
it was like a running laps and screaming and, really powerful service.
He checked out.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
told
he
her
was
I
like,
was going to the car.
And he did.
He went to the car. How long was that service? How long did it take you to go to the car to meet him?
About 10 minutes.
Oh, you were shortly thereafter.
Yeah, I was
No,
there.
how long did it take me to go to meet you?
Oh, no.
I finished the service,
Yeah.
completely till they dismissed after altar call. So that was probably over an hour, I would say.
So then I told her I'm not going back in there. And she said, well, just give it another try. So gave it some more tries, and I continued to go, and
Now this is
kind of got a little bit more used to it.
This
is
was
this
in
dating
Tyler.
or
Well, we were
marriage?
living in sin.
okay.
So
y'all were together.
that we were together, but we
Gotcha.
were not
Okay,
married.
Okay, gotcha. So I wasn't sure if that was during the dating years. If he must
Yeah,
have really
no, we
liked you
were-
if he hung through all that.
Yeah.
Dating
So
was like 4 months.
just a little backstory. Back to kind of where we started. So we started dating in August, moved in together in September, got engaged in December. So the whole trying churches and him, going to a Pentecostal church was kind of during that fall season.
Gotcha.
And then in the end of January, we found out we were pregnant with Easton. And then we were scheduled to be married the following August, but I was going to be almost due at that point. So we got married in March. So we had started dating in August and got married the following March. And then had Easton the following September and moved here to the Lufkin area.
So a lot of things happened pretty quick, Michelle.
Yeah.
Church, children, family, marriage, moving, a lot of big
Graduation,
changes.
new
Graduation.
job.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So real quick, let's back up. What's your occupation? You're in electrical, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Industry.
Yeah, electrical industry, and you do.
I'm a therapy coordinator for a home health office right now, but I'm actually pursuing a degree in education.
Awesome. Okay, great. Okay, so now then, how did Chance get to, I'll ask you this, he can fill in or change whatever, but how did Chance go from, I don't want anything to do with it, I'm going to the truck, I'll see you out there, to where he is now, and then we'll kind of get to the where he is now part, but what transpired, and I'm assuming it was a number of different events that kind of took place, or kind of fill in that area, that gap.
Well, my daddy kind of raised me to be a very stubborn person. And he always taught us that if you're going to be stubborn in anything, you need to be stubborn in your faith. And you're not going to budge, and you're not going to alter from what it is that you know to be true. So I agreed to visit his Baptist church growing up. But that was more of a bargaining chip for me. So I just told him, I am who I am, and this is where I'm going to go, and this is where I know that I will be fed, and I know that if you'll give it a chance, you'll be fed too, and I know that this is what God has planned for our lives, and if you don't want to be with me, then you're not going to be with me, and you're not going to go, but if you do, then you will. Yeah. And like I said, at that point, we were engaged. We found out we were expecting our son. And I told him, I want to raise my son in what I know is true. And so it was kind of a learning opportunity, I think, for not only me, because I still don't know a lot that I wish that I did, but we kind of started going to different churches that were a little more mellow as far as, they didn't have total breakout services and things like that, but where we would still get fed and we would still know the truth and still hear the truth, but it was a little more on the Baptist side of it in the sense that he felt comfortable.
Yeah.
He was used to a small church, so we decided to, try small churches, not 350 plus and things like that. So then by the time we moved here to Lufkin a year later, I think he was a lot more comfortable, and he just knew, like, okay, this is where it's at.
He was more familiar with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay. Chance, is that how you
Yeah.
would say it kind of transpired? You just kind of eased into it a little bit, so to speak?
Yes, but even when we came to Lufkin, I still told her, I'm not going to the front. I'm not raising my hands. I'm not, because the church I grew up in, if you went to the front, you probably did something wrong that weekend or that week.
That week.
Everybody's looking at you like, I wonder what she did.
Yeah.
But
That's funny.
so I've always just never done anything like that. So now,
Yeah.
I told her, I was like, I'm not doing these things. That's how I'll go to the church with you. I'll listen. I'll sing along. I'll do this, but I'm not doing.
Yeah. So y'all's life in since you've been married, obviously taking the kids to church, being faithful there, or at least tagging along with her. How much of church? How much did your life reflect church? I mean, was it kind of one of those situations where, yeah, we're in this thing, we're going to be faithful, we're going to love God, it's going to be our lifestyle, or was it church was a Sunday situation?
I think that at first it was, we want our kids to know about Jesus, and not just from us, but we want them to be involved, and learn from church and know that we go to church. But it wasn't, we didn't find a church that we felt at home. Mm-hmm. And that was very difficult to make it part of your lifestyle and to make it, we have to be there every time the doors are open, when you didn't really feel like, okay, this is where God wants us to be. And it wasn't anything against any of the churches that we went to. It was just that that's not what God had planned for us. And so it was hard for us to get really, completely dived in whenever we just felt like something was missing as far as what he had for us and what we needed to be involved in and what we needed to be fed, and so I think that for the, and another thing, and we might get to this in a minute, but we fought for a long time on what God had planned for us, and being in Lufkin versus moving back to Tyler and being close to family and friends. And so that goes along with it. If you're fighting the will of God, then you're not going to really be in what he wants you to be in. So.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. Absolutely. So Chance, what about you during all this? If you were kind of going and supporting her really and being there, not keeping her from it, but you had kind of, I'm not engaging in this, but what about your personal walk with God? Was it just kind of go to church on Sunday and do your own thing the rest of the time, or is that how your situation was? Or were you already seeking and pursuing certain things?
It was pretty much go to church on Sunday and do my own thing the rest of the time.
Okay. Did you ever have the ideas of there's got to be something more, there's to this church thing? Or was it just, were you pretty content with how life is, or how life was at the time?
At that time, I was pretty content.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if some of these questions aren't on the list. We're just kind of flowing with it here. But, okay, so now fast forward to where you are now, which very excited to say, Brooke, you're on the praise team, right? And I think you've helped with the kids. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Chance helps with sound and media. I don't know of a time when...
And outreach. We do outreach.
Yes, and outreach, definitely big time involved in that. And I don't know of a time when the doors were open lately that if y'all could have been here, you haven't been here. Y'all have showed up anytime you could. Chance even coming in, from work, driving straight in, whenever it would have been just as easy, or other people say, oh, I'm already late, I won't go. He still shows up, and so grateful for that. A lot of good things I see in the past 4 months, a lot of really good things happening, and I'm very excited about it. So, but tell me from y'all's perspective, what's God doing in y'all's life individually and also your family? And I'll let either one of you speak to that.
I think we're more at peace, like financially, geography wise. Just easier came to terms with being here and making this area home.
Took notes on this one because I didn't want to miss anything
That's all right. Whatever y'all.
I can't read your notes.
because I have sloppy handwriting. So in our marriage, I think that going through the things that our relationship being fast forwarded at the rate that it was, having all of those things happen just within the first year alone. And then when Easton was 3 months old, we got pregnant with Hadley. And then, shortly after Hadley turned 2, Blanche was born, or right before Hadley turned 2, Blanche was born. We have moved 8 or 9 times in our 5 years. I mean, we were never, we were always thinking, okay, this is not what God has for us. This is not what God has for us. Where do we need to get back to Tyler? We need to get back to Tyler. We need to get back to Tyler. And so that put a bunch of stress on our marriage.
Yeah.
Raising little ones. He had no experience with kids and knew nothing about kids. I had experience with kids, but, it's different when you have your own. So, there were just lots of things that we had to learn in a very short amount of time. And that puts a lot of stress on a marriage, especially a new marriage.
Absolutely.
And especially a marriage when you're not really strong in your faith and in God. And so one thing that we struggled with was I had been hurt previously. I hadn't always been, in my previous marriage, a good wife. And he had been hurt, and he had not been a good boyfriend in the past. So we both came into this relationship with these past hurts and past things that we let affect our current relationship and our own marriage. And we had a hard time trusting each other, and we had a hard time communicating, and just we just dove in so fast head first because we were so in love, but we didn't think about all the things that necessarily needed to take place, and we needed to grow and learn with each other before we just dove in. So in being in church and being close to God, we've built up that trust and faith in each other, and communication is still sometimes lacking because we're completely opposite in that fact, but our marriage has gotten a lot stronger.
Hard-headed.
We're both very hard-headed and very stubborn, and I'm a talker, and he's the quiet one, and he just wants to be left alone, and I want to get it out. So, we're still learning. We're still young in our marriage. We've only been married 5 years, so there are still things that we're learning. In regards to parenting, again, having 3 little children is very stressful. Sometimes it is anything and everything that I ever wanted in my life. All I ever knew that I wanted was to be a mom. And at one point, I didn't know that was going to happen. I was told by all the doctors that I was never going to have children. So when we got pregnant with Easton and had Easton, it was like, yay, glorious day. Here comes Hadley. Here comes Blank. So now everything in our life revolves around our children, and that can be stressful. Right. But at the same time, it's allowed us, I feel like, to really focus on what it is that they need from us, and it's helped us to stay true to God and stay true to the focus of raising our family in church, because they depend on us.
Yeah.
And they need us. And so he's helped us with patience. Lots of times I don't have patience with the little ones. He's helped us with teaching them, about God and luckily our kids love church. They have always loved church. Any church that we go to, they just love it 100-fold. But particularly love Corrigan, I'm just going to say.
Well, we love them, that's for sure.
But it's really helped us, as parents to be able to be not only the husband and wife that God's commanded us to be, but be the parents that He's, commanded us to be, and raise them in church. And then everyday life, like I said, we, for a long time, fought that we were supposed to be in Lufkin area. We fought that we weren't supposed to be back in Tyler with my parents, who are not so well off as far as physically and health-wise. We fought that we needed to be close to other family members and my friends and his family, and we fought those things for a long time, and we wanted our kids to, grow up with them and all of those things, but we've learned through many, many closed doors that sometimes God's plans are not always our plans, and you hear that over and over. And we knew that. We knew over and over that have faith, and it'll happen when it was supposed to happen, and God's timing, and your plans are not God's plans, and all those things. But then when you keep trying to open a door that He's locked and shut, and that helps us to grow stronger and closer to Him. Why God? Why God? And you don't want to ask those questions, but you do.
As long as you keep fighting, you're going to be uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we've learned to just really trust in Him when we don't know why or how or our purpose or what it is and that we're going through and why it is that we're going through it. And we've just really learned to lean on Him and in all counts of life and finances and kids and marriage and things that I grew up knowing to be true. It's that it's true, but then you experience it and you kind of forget, and then it's like, oh, okay, now I understand.
Yeah, right.
So that's just really helped us, I feel like, the most. And now we just want to be a blessing to others, and we're still growing and we're still learning. But
we've always been told, pray about it and leave it alone. Just leave it alone. But it's so hard to not have your hand still on it. Like, I'm going to control this one way or another.
Yeah, you're going to fix it.
And then you keep on doing that, and you're just so uncomfortable the entire time. And then now that you actually believe and do what it says and leave it alone, leave it to Him, it's so much more comfortable.
Yeah.
You can just, all right, we're good. We're going to make it to next payday one way or another. I'm not fixing to go scrape pennies because we're going to make it.
God's going to take care.
yeah, we have been negative and we have been so positive that we could just give. So, I mean, financially, we've been on both ends of the track and
In every aspect, though.
yeah.
Well, if you had
There's no worrying anymore.
if there was someone else like yourselves, chances there was another you from, let's say, 5 years ago or 3 years ago, sitting out there watching this, someone that can relate to your story, kind of an introvert, just leave me alone, I'm not really interested in the whole church thing too much. What would you say to that person?
Persistence. Step out one time and don't go back. And everything that you face in this life is just a temporary problem.
Yeah.
It always gets better, 100%.
That's good. That's hard to remember sometimes, situations we think they're here to stay. And what's awesome, or something that I don't know if I mentioned, it wasn't but just a few weeks ago you decided to get baptized right here in Corrigan. So that's a great thing. And maybe one day we can sit down and tell that story. But what about you, Brooke? If there was another lady similar to yourself, raised up in some church, kind of maybe got away for a little bit, came back, now getting things going, being used and being effective for the kingdom, what would you say to them, to that person who maybe would be you a few years ago?
I would say follow what you know to be true. Listen when he talks.
Yeah.
Don't argue like you do so well. And along a long time ago when I was going through probably one of the hardest times of my life, if not the hardest. I had a dream about I was walking across fiery coals, and my feet burned from coals. And looking back now, and through reading His Word and praying, and people in the church kind of speaking to me, everything that you go through is for a reason, and you may feel the fire, and you may get burned, and you may go through the rain and the tornado and everything else, but those things bring growth, and they bring new life, and they bring blessings. Yeah. So just keep going. Don't give up. Stay true to God. Stay true to your faith, and you will see the other side.
Awesome.
For better.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank y'all for letting me interview you. I know it wasn't easy, probably especially for Mr. Chance over there. But he's been a trooper, and thank you all for watching. Chance and Brooke are phenomenal people. I'm sure you can relate to their story. They have a great testimony. God's doing a great work in their life. They're very faithful. We very much appreciate all that they do here at the church, and we know God's going to continue to bless them. If you want prayer, if you have a situation in your life that you want us to be a part of or help you pray about, please let us know. We'll be glad to do so. So have a great day. God bless you, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.